Thank you for that, Doyle, and welcome back. It is time to make our picks. Jeremy, week 6, here we go. We start at the big house. Sign of a big-time upset. Michigan over Wisconsin last week. Did they make it 2 weeks in a row? Illinois at Michigan.
Well, you look at Illinois this year, 2 losses already against 2 very good football teams in Penn State and Missouri. I like Illinois taking care of business at the big house.
No, Michigan, strangely enough, favored by 2.5 in this game. I think they were the beneficiary of about half a dozen Wisconsin turnovers last week. I don't think it happens again this week. Illinois wins this game straight up. Let's shift it down to Tuscaloosa, Bryant-Denny Stadium. The Crimson Tide now with a #2 ranking. Possibly an upset alert this week as an undefeated Kentucky Wildcat team rolls into town.
You talk about an undefeated Kentucky team. Let's talk about an undermanned Kentucky team this weekend. Alabama, no letdowns, takes care of business against Kentucky.
Yeah, I think really this defines a letdown game, but Kentucky somewhat depleted on the defensive side of the ball, possibly missing a starting linebacker and safety this week. I go with the Crimson Tide, maybe not covering the 16.5-point spread, but then again, maybe so. They've been good at doing it so far this year. Thursday night primetime on ESPN, the Pitt Panthers head south to face the South Florida Bulls. Big East title implications.
Let me go ahead and tell you, South Florida is the real deal this year in college football. I like the Bulls big over Pitt.
I think South Florida being on short rest compared with Pitt being under the radar a little bit keeps this thing close. I like Pitt plus 13, but I like USF straight up. Arizona State at Cal.
You look at Arizona State, Rudy Carpenter slinging the ball around. If you look at Cal, disappointing loss to Maryland, but a good football team nonetheless, knocking off Michigan State earlier this year. I think Cal's a little bit better, take care of business this weekend.
Yeah, Cal's been fine at home. I think that stays the same this week. I think they're a very underrated team right now. I like the Bears big. All right, some of our spotlight games. Oregon at USC, #23 ranking with Oregon, but as we mentioned, quarterback problems possibly. What do we see in this matchup?
Oregon has to play a perfect game, as we mentioned earlier. I think USC, maybe not pretty, but they take care of business against Oregon.
It ain't going to be pretty, but not because it will be a defensive struggle. I think USC, I know I said it last week, I'm going to say it again this week and jump out on that limb. USC by 3 touchdowns. We'll see. FSU at Miami. Used to be a big-time marquee game. Now it's relegated to maybe 5th or 6th game we even care about this week.
Well, let me go ahead and say there was a big cheer that just went up there in Eugene, Oregon, but that's nonetheless. Florida State at Miami, like I said, big step forward for Florida State last week, big step back for Miami. I think Florida State gets it done at Miami this weekend.
You cannot underestimate the importance of recruiting, the implications as it relates to recruiting that this game will have on the state of Florida. Randy Shannon knows how big this game is, and I think they find a way, despite coming off that loss to North Carolina, to get it done. Miami wins this game. Auburn at Vanderbilt, primetime game. They will be jacked in Commodore land.
Well, I guess if that's what you want to call it, that would be the right word. Vanderbilt, I really do hope that there's a big turnout for this game. This would be great, not only for Vandy, but for the conference. Vandy has been a laughingstock of the SEC for a long time. I think Vandy is coming a long way. Bobby Johnson, now a respected coach. I really like Bobby Johnson, but I believe that right now, maybe in 3 years, it's a different story. I think right now Auburn's just a little too much for Vanderbilt, but close ball game, Auburn wins.
I think all the signs are there. Vandy coming off a bye week. Auburn struggling on offense. That Vanderbilt defense looking nasty. Vanderbilt pulls the upset. I'm sticking with the Commodores. I may pick them against the Buffalo Bills if that game was played next week. I love what Bobby Johnson's doing. And that will lead us to our Spotlight primetime game on ABC Saturday night. Ohio State at Wisconsin. Ohio State sort of under the radar after that beatdown they took against USC, but they're undefeated in conference. Still a great shot at the Big Ten title. They're ranked 14th. Wisconsin already a conference loss. And that makes this a must-win for the Badgers as they have Ohio State and Penn State back-to-back, both at Camp Randall. What do we see?
Well, you talk about Ohio State being under the radar, and that's with good reason. They are not playing well right now. You look at Minnesota, giving them a run for their money, at least about 13, but 3 years ago, that's an embarrassing score if they're playing Minnesota. Tough games against Troy, just not looking very impressive. But they're still Ohio State. They're still undefeated in conference, and they still have a chance to win that conference. You look at Wisconsin, 2 huge games in a row. Definitely, if there ever was a must-win game, Badgers, it's for you this weekend against Ohio State.
I mean, Brent Billings, 16 for his last 16, as it relates to home games. I don't think I'm going to pick them in either one of these games. I got to pick Ohio State, and I think Ohio State right now is right where they need to be. Nobody talking about them. All the focus on teams like Oklahoma and Alabama and Florida and Missouri. They are under the radar right now and can focus on what they need to be focusing on, and that is the Big Ten title and getting back to the Rose Bowl. This is not a national title caliber team, I don't think, but it is a Big Ten title caliber team, and that's what I think they need to focus on, and I think they get the job done this weekend.
Well, I'll tell you what, really, in my opinion, this game rests on the shoulders of P.J. Hill. Veteran running back. I'm already about 500 yards, 4 touchdowns this year. But really, he needs to step up and be the leader of this football team. If you talk about Wisconsin football, you talk about physical, you talk about hit you in the mouth, you talk about run you over. And that's what they're going to have to do to the Buckeyes. The Buckeyes are strong on defense. Now, they were slashed by USC, but that was not really a true indication of what that team is like.
I don't think it's overstating the situation to say Wisconsin not quite on USC's level in terms of offense. You know, you talk about P.J. Hill being the key. I think you got to look at a young man by the name of Terrell Pryor. He's taken over this team, and maybe it hasn't been pretty and flashy yet, but as he grasps this offensive system, I think he's only going to get better and better. We know he's already got all the physical tools that it takes to succeed, and after the USC game, he's taken the reins as quarterback of this team, and maybe stepped up in a leadership position, albeit being a freshman. But he's going to have a big-time impact on the outcome of this game.
Well, there's 2 leaders in that Ohio State team. One is Christopher Beanie Wells, the running back, and he's going to be back this week, going to make a big impact. And the other one, what a rush, just like his dad would have said, James Laurinaitis on the defensive side of the ball. If those 2 guys step up to the plate, as we've seen them do in the past, I think that like you said, Ohio State, more talent than Wisconsin. I think that they take care of business against the Badgers.
It should be an electric atmosphere. My pick is Ohio State. Your pick is?
Give me the Buckeyes, Ohio State.
2 for 2. You're on the line, Buckeyes. That will do it for this week. Enjoy your weekend and enjoy the games. If it's anything like week 5,